technical assistance series around trauma, healing, and e-mentorship. We hope the TA series has been beneficial for all of you so far, and I have no doubt that today's session with Marcus Strother, the CEO and founder of Mentor California, will be phenomenal. Today's session will leave us with best practices for e-mentoring programs that you all can incorporate into your existing programs. And on that note, Marcus, thank you so much for all that you're doing for us, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to you to get us started.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sending us off that way and getting things started. And I hope that today will give everyone exactly what they need as we get ready to move forward and thinking about this e-mentoring space. I know you all have been in a number of different training opportunities. I just want to say a big thank you to Elevate Youth and the Sierra Health Foundation. The work that you all are doing is phenomenal. And I just appreciate being able to be a part of the community, to be able to share some of the great different opportunities that we have to be able to push out the idea of mentoring, how we can support mentoring, what e-mentoring looks like, and then really getting into the elements of effective practices. And that's really going to help us break down those 6 core elements as we talk about them from recruitment to closure. But we will also spend some time today looking at a couple of different programs that you can actually use and put into effect right away in the e-mentoring space, and also lifting up for everybody so that you know this is difficult. COVID-19 threw us all into a different place, although we've been doing e-mentoring supplemental type stuff at all times. This has been difficult, and it is a really tough space. And sometimes the most simple methods of e-mentoring are the easiest and best and work for young people and get them what they need. But then there's also some really high-powered platforms, that we understand could be costly sometimes. But hopefully Mentor California can help support with that. And you have great folks out there providing funding to be able to support some of what we're going to show you today. And then we also have something to offer to you that we hope you will jump out and use right away and see if it works for you. So we're really excited to be here to be able to share in this information. For those that are new, there are some that I know are here today that may have been with us a couple weeks ago, but my name is Marcus Strother. I'm the president and CEO of Mentor California. We are an affiliate of Mentor, the national partnership, which is out of Boston, Massachusetts. Many of you may know David Shapiro, who is our CEO of our national office, doing phenomenal work. And being a part of this community here in California has been absolutely amazing. My background comes from public education. I spent 22 years in that space. 8 years as a classroom teacher, 9 years as a high school principal, and 5 years as a coordinator and district director here at Sac City Unified School District, which was an absolute blast. And being able to see some familiar names from folks that we worked with here in Sacramento is amazing. We currently right now are working with over 250 mentoring or youth development programs across this great state. We're hoping to be able to include more. And we're going to talk to you about some new campaigns that we have today as we get ready to launch into this space. So hopefully there'll be time for us to talk. I ask, as I did 2 weeks ago, that you all jump off of mute at certain times, put yourself into the discussion. We're going to do an activity today on identity, just to talk about some opportunities to build relationships and how you can use this, not only with your young people, but also with your staff. And then we're going to, again, go into just talking about what are some really effective practices that some of you all may already be using in the e-mentoring space. So I'm going to get ready to share my screen now as we get ready to jump into this presentation. One of the things that I want to first and foremost say is one of our partners, LinkedIn, is a part of supporting this work and these trainings as we push them out. We will continue to be doing trainings throughout the next few months. And on June 30th, we will be hosting our first quarterly convening. Well, we will be asking folks to come to the table, be able to share our best practices. We'll have a couple guest speakers and programs to be able to provide some opportunity for you all to learn from each other. We look to do that at least 3 more times throughout the year. And we're hoping to eventually maybe a year or two from now, have our own large statewide conference here for all of us to come together to really talk about the mentoring movement. So I want to say thank you to LinkedIn for their support and continued partnership in this work. I will start off again by just sharing some of the information about Mentor California so you all know. Our vision is that every young person in California has the supportive relationships they need to grow and develop into thriving, productive, and engaged adults. And our mission is very simple. We are not a direct service program. We do not bring young people into our facilities or our work to do the mentoring. We are here to support mentor programs, and we are here to support young people as they are getting into these programs. And our mission is to fuel the quality and quantity of mentoring relationships for California's young people and to close the mentoring gap. Our values are very simple and very true to our heart. Inclusivity, we adopt a human-centric focus in everything that we do with young people at the core. Love, we exercise empathy and respect, prioritizing relationships and centering that in our decision-making. Self-care, we honor and pay attention to our shared humanity to bring our best selves in our work with others. And then transparency, we build that through clarity of our vision and mission. You can see the pictures we have there at the bottom just to kind of give a little bit more detail into our work. We have completed our strategic plan through 2023. We did a feasibility study. We got over about 120 programs that participated in that feasibility study. And we also got to sit down with 17 young people to really talk about what it is that they would like to see from Mentor California as we support you all in this work. Our priorities that came out of that are very simple and very true to who we are. It is to increase the quality and quantity of mentoring in partnership with mentoring programs, develop key partnerships across the state to raise awareness and standing of mentoring. It is really important for us to get folks to understand that mentoring is a solution strategy to many different things, right? Whether that be K-12 and relationship-centered schools, whether that be mental health and how we can support in mental health, and how do we support belongingness and really lifting up young people in this work. And then another piece that I will talk about shortly is how do we get you all invested in workforce development and being able to support young people in that as well. We will look to collect data on our mentoring landscape, raise adequate revenue from diverse sources. It is a goal of ours to be able to eventually provide grants and funding support for mentoring programs across this state. And then of course, one day, as a leader, I will step away from Mentor California, and we want to make sure Mentor California is here to stay and will last way past myself. Our piece. So thinking about your mics when it is time to get engaged, please jump in and participate fully. Maintain a curious stance. And then of course, bring love and joy as we go through this work together. So here's another piece that I want to lift up that we just pushed out this week. It is our Workplace Equity Pledge. This is something that we're doing across this great country. All of our affiliates, we have over 20 plus affiliates, actually 26 affiliates across this country, and we now have our Workplace Equity Pledge. If you go to our website, mentorcaliforniayouth.org, you will see it right there on the home screen. We ask that you click on that and take the pledge to turn potential into possibilities, be able to lift up young people in a way where they can build their network and find the jobs and careers that they're looking to get into. One of the things we know from research is that 80% of the jobs people get is because they know someone in that space. I'll say that again. 80% of the jobs that people get is because they know someone in that place. So how do we work to make sure our young people have a network that they can use and be able to move themselves in the right direction in this career-oriented space? So we're really excited about that. We have a great ambassador for us at our national level, Charlene, who I'm sure you all will see much more as we continue to do this work. So again, I encourage you to go to mentorcaliforniayouth.org, find our workplace equity pledge, and take that pledge and invite your friends, invite other programs to get involved in that work. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why mentoring before we get ready to jump into e-mentoring. Again, as we continue to share with folks the importance of mentoring and what it provides, support for attendance, behavior, and course performance, belonging and purpose, opportunities to build social and emotional skills while developing a positive sense of identity and critical consciousness, and then support experiential learning, opportunities to explore interests, skills, and talent. Really want to emphasize the importance of experiential learning, especially as we've gone through a really tough year. How do we get ourselves back to a place where we can take young people out, get them into the world, and allow them to be able to experience different spaces, different cultures, and build upon that? Some of the short-term outcomes for youth is academic achievement and advancement, positive experience in school culture and climate, social and emotional wellness, including healthy and positive relationships. Really excited about this piece as we are getting ready to do a really great panel discussion with some of the folks from the Sacramento Kings and some other partners that will be a part of that, really talking and lifting up mental health and how mentoring can support that work. Civic engagement, college and career readiness and access. And then young people, right? Long-term outcomes, young people are safe, healthy, engaged, supported, challenged, and fulfilled. And there's something special about lifting up the idea of being fulfilled and how we can move young people to that place. And the last point I want to make about this is they have choices. Our young people have choices about how to pursue their educational and career goals. And I think the important piece to that is choices and there. Recognizing that our young people need to have a voice and how they move through this world and what that could look like for them. So I think it's really important that we continue to lift that up as we continue to move forward. Thank you, Elevate Youth, for putting that into the chat. If you all want to check out the chat, you will see the workplace equity pledge. So please jump into the chat, click on that link, and go take that pledge. All right. Also thinking about a mentoring mindset and what is required. As it states here, ideally in all healthy relationships, people use a mentoring mindset frame when interacting with one another. And that mentoring mindset means relationships are intentional, right? I see you. They're very supportive. I got you. They're developmental. I'm here to help you. But most importantly, they're communal, right? And that is part of what we are doing here today, is being in space with each other, because we are in this together. How do we continue to move in these spaces? And how do we use this work to be able to build a community of mentorship across California? These relationships can be with people we know really well, people we consider acquaintances, and in some instances, sometimes it's strangers who we're meeting for the first time. And I say that lifting up a partnership that we have with Microsoft that we're going to be doing tomorrow. We have 35 Microsoft employees, and we are bringing about 50 young people who are going to be a part of a networking event with them. This is something that we've done with LinkedIn, we've done with Starbucks, and we're hoping to soon be doing with Abbott Technologies. And we're hoping to be able to offer those out to you all to bring your young people to be a part of those events. So be looking out for those as we continue to move forward. A couple last pieces that I want you all to know is, what does our support look like as Mentor California? This question has been asked in the last few weeks since we've started doing these trainings with you all. And I want to make sure that you all know what we are here for and how we can support you. Connection to our National Mentoring Partnership, which means resources, best practices, trainings, etc. And that includes our National Mentoring Summit that happens every January. Our national website is mentoring.org. Really simple, mentoring.org. You can go there and find tons of different opportunities for you to be able to look into resources, guidebooks that we have, videos, different trainings that we can support you on. This second bullet is something that I want to lift up. The first thing you see there is free. Again, I'm going to say free. program consulting, and TA via our National Mentoring Resource Center. So one of the things I want to encourage you all to do today is, again, go to mentorcaliforniayouth.org, and in our resource tab, you will see the Mentoring Connector. Once you go onto that Mentoring Connector, you can sign up as a program underneath Mentor California, and that just means that you are available and looking for support, but it also lets community know that you are here. So if family members are looking for a mentoring program, they can go onto our Mentoring Connector. They can fill out a very short form and say that we're looking for a mentor program within 25 miles. And if you are in our connector, your name will pop up, your website, any information that you give us, and then they are able to connect with you all. This is a very simple way for families or schools, anyone that may be looking for support in the field of mentoring. The other part of it, though, is we are trying our best to recruit more and more mentors. And I will say intentionally, we are looking to recruit more and more mentors for our BIPOC community, for our LGBTQ community, and really being able to lift that up. Whether that be our transgender community, the cisgender community, we want to make sure that our young people have what they need. So go on to the Mentoring Connector. And if you're interested in becoming a mentor, people can go there and sign up to become a mentor and reach out to you all to connect with your program. You see that in the access to the Mentoring Connector. We have local support, customized trainings, roundtables, community of practice, and our relationship-centered schools work. Promotions of mentoring best practices, which we're about to jump into with the elements of effective practices for mentoring, but we have many different supplements to that, and we're getting ready benchmarks that speak to the research behind the effective practices for mentoring. So connect with us and we can help you through that. Again, if you're looking to start a mentoring program, if you're a school district looking in that space, we're here and available for that. And then, of course, any speaking engagements that we can come and share our work, we will do. Last piece is physical and electronic copies are available of our elements of effective practices. And as you'll see at the bottom, there are a ton of different supplements. Mentoring Boys of Color Guide, our STEM addendum to the elements of effective practices, our LGBTQ plus addendum to the elements of effective practices, Masculinity Conversations Guide, our Youth Purpose Guide, Social and Emotional Development Guide, and then what we're going to be doing today, our e-mentoring addendum to the elements of effective practices. All of this is available. How do I request free technical assistance? You see there just to click on the button titled Request No Cost Help for Your Program. Again, no cost help for your program. Click to submit your detailed application, and your request will go out to Mentor and be sent to us here in California so we could support you. All right, so let's jump into this social identity wheel and have some conversation, or even just share some stuff in the chat. I want you all to take some time and to look at this social identity wheel and see how you could use this with your programs. What we have here is a number of identities that really speak to who we are as people. But what I will also say is that all the identities that are here are not the only identities that people have. But what we have on this wheel is ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, first language, physical, emotional, and developmental ability or disability, age, religious or spiritual affiliation, and race. I want us to take about 5 minutes, and I'm going to ask you all to look at these 5 questions and to answer these 5 questions based on this social identity wheel. But I will also give you something and say that if your identity that to number 1 you think about the most often is not on this wheel, please share it with us. You can answer these questions in the chat, or you could just answer these questions to yourself. And then we're going to talk about them in just a short few minutes. But I wanted an opportunity for you all to be able to look at these questions, ask yourself, What are the identities you think about most often? What are the identities you think about least often? So on and so forth. But I also want you to think about this in the context of how can you use this with the young people that you work with in your program as an opportunity through an e-mentoring model to be able to build relationships and get to know the young people in your space. So again, I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to go on mute and let's take about 5 minutes to be able to answer these questions. And I would ask for those of you who are comfortable, please put it in the chat. For those of you who are even more comfortable with speaking, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to ask if anyone would like to share one or two of the answers that they had for this moving forward. And I am going to ask you to start on that now. Again, like I said, we'll give about 5 minutes to think through this. As you're thinking about the answers to these questions, consider how you might use this or even change it a little bit to work with your young people in your spaces. Think about identities you think about least often, and Latino Health Access, raise your hand. Please jump out.
Hi, my name is Brenda Cervantes from Latino Health Access.
Yes.
So what I would like to learn more about and just kind of dive into more would be your own identities you would like to know more about. And so in regards to like my youth, more about the socioeconomic status, first language, definitely first language, because a lot of my youth are, Hispanic American, Latinx. And so I see a lot of just kind of, trying to fit in where they're at because they were born and raised here. However, they do still identify as being Hispanic. And so, there's a lot of just kind of just like, where do I fit in? Like in my Hispanic culture, do I fit in like here in America? So I think that what I like to like learn more about and just kind of like dive into as well. And the socioeconomic status too, because I work with a lot of like a middle class, lower class kind of community. And so that just kind of intrigued me that way. So I hope this answered your question and what you're trying to look for. Yes.
No, that's great. That's great. And that also gives us things to think about in terms of what are some other bodies of work that we could do. I'm going to stop sharing my screen real quick, just because I know there was a few other people that raised their hand. So I want to jump out and give them an opportunity. But yes, thank you for that. I think that was great. And it did answer the question in terms of what are some things that you're thinking about for young people and how we can move forward with this and thinking about identity and building on that. So I think that's beautiful. Karen, I see your hand is raised. Please jump out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marcus. So I was thinking in terms of our work with populations that have mental health issues as well as co-occurring condition issues. And I don't see anything up there on the wheel related to that. So in how you perceive yourself is a really important topic, because we work really hard on non-stigmatizing language and using language that is more affirming. And so that's something that we focus on a lot at NAMI. And so I don't see it on the wheel, but it's something that I'd like to add, if that's possible, for those populations that are struggling in those areas. So co-occurring conditions, mental health conditions, substance misuse conditions.
Absolutely. And I'm sitting here taking notes of things that we can add on there. And I think all of that is great. All of the mental health piece sticks out to me. How do you perceive yourself? I think all of that is absolutely amazing, Karen. So thank you for adding to that. I'm also looking, Abigail, I see you put in the chat, race, gender, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, religion, and physical and developmental disability. I love all of that. Is this an activity you would do with youth and mentors? So I'm going to ask quickly, Abigail, if you don't mind jumping off mute. Are you asking me that question? Is this an activity I would do with youth and mentors? Or is this something that you would think about doing with youth and mentors?
Yeah, I guess in developing the relationship with the youth and the mentor, is that something that you would do together, or the mentor would do with the youth?
Are you trying to find
Involved?
Yeah, so absolutely. I think once you get to a place where you have a match and you can sit them down together and be able to use this as a way for them to do kind of an interview process where they're talking through that and really talking about their identity, it'd be a great way for them to be able to build relationships. So absolutely, absolutely. Leticia, I see you got your hand raised. Please jump out.
Hi, my name is Leticia Aguilar. I'm with Native Sister Circle here in Sacramento. You know, the thing that jumps out at me is culture, because we identify as Native girls, and I have, you know, we come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, and some appear white, some appear Hispanic, African American, and identify as Native. And I think there's so many stereotypes that come behind identifying as an Indigenous person, and tying yourself to the land here. I have girls that are Miwok, and their ancestors are, you know, from this territory. It goes into mental health, and the stigmas behind that, because not only is there stereotypes when you identify as Native, there's discussions around sense of entitlement and what is indigeneity, and like as if there's a lot of like shame in being Native, and no visibility. And I think it has a lot to do with the success of the government, you know, trying to erase our histories. And so we get thrown into mixed categories. And so teaching the girls and empowering them within our group, that's okay, you know, to identify and feel
Absolutely
safe. But also undoing those stigmas behind, you know, like how do they perceive themselves as, because it's detrimental to their mental health, and you know, and so when we're working with them, I feel like that is a struggle, because there's this whole system that says, well, if you're on this side of the border, you're not from here, or whose land is it? Well, and then it goes into religion. This is God's land, you know. And so definitely those are some things that we're seeing and really trying to work on with them.
Thank you for sharing that. I absolutely love that. Coming here to Sacramento and being a part of Sac Unified, underneath our department was our American Indian Ed program. And I always lift up Christina Prairie Chicken, who taught me so much and continues to teach me so much about the Native community and the culture. So sharing that aspect and lifting that up in this space is absolutely amazing. So thank you for doing that. And I will continue to think through how we can lift that up even more. I see one last hand, and then I'm going to jump back into the presentation. Stephanie, can you please jump out?
Yeah, thank you, Marcus. Hi, everyone. Stephanie Camacho Van Dyke, she, her, pronouns from the LGBTQ Center OC. For mine, I put gender, sexual orientation, of course, because we're at LGBTQ Center, but also socioeconomic status and ability. I think virtually wise, we've had a couple youth who have talked about ability and how it impacts our community. And especially because everything is virtual, we do have to think out of the box and creatively on how to engage youth on a virtual level and making sure that we have platforms that are accessible. We have one particular youth, I learned so much from them, but they do share they make sure that we use captions when we're doing our youth leadership groups, putting subs if we're watching videos, stuff like this, which I think is super important that we do. And I never really considered it before. And so I think it's really, really important that we consider ability. And I think just race and ethnicity just encompasses all these items, especially with the work that we're doing at the center that revolves around restorative justice, racial justice, and gender justice work within schools. So, that's the first thing that also comes in mind when we're working with, youth of color, LGBTQ youth. How do we, work, together with these youth to create safe and affirming spaces for them in schools, right? And also uplifting them and their identities. So, super, super important.
Super, super important. And as you see in the chat, Stephanie, you're getting some great information pushed out. So again, absolutely love that, that was shared. I think we can continue to do better in those spaces and making sure we're lifting all of that up. And I do not want to be disrespectful and lift. I know, and I want to say your name correctly. Is it Ale? Am I saying that? I see you just raise your hand real quick and you have a butterfly picture, which makes me excited. So please jump out. Hopefully I said your name correctly. Oh, you took your hand down. Maybe you're good. All right, cool. I'm going to jump back into our presentation. All right, so as you see, social identity wheel is absolutely amazing. I will share this with Palvinder and Andrew and the team to make sure that you all have this slide deck, and please use this identity wheel, add to it, create your own, right? Create your own and add identities that we may be missing on here so we can move forward. So let's jump into this e-mentoring guide to youth and expanding our resources. And one of the things that I want to talk about first before we get too deep into what are some different outlets or typologies for what kind of e-mentoring programs are available and something that we love to see folks use. I want to talk through the 6 elements that we have, that we encourage people to think about as they move through the mentoring space. These 6 standards start with recruitment, right? Recruiting appropriate mentors and mentees by realistically describing the program's aims and expected outcomes. What I think is important about this is not only is it important for us to do that in person, but right now, as we continue to move through this virtual space, really describing the program's aims and outcomes, expected outcomes, is going to be crucial. Right now, we know that young people aren't going to be as available, possibly, or adults may not be as available, or vice versa. We also understand that it's very difficult for young people to have the type of internet access that they need to be able to do this work. So really being able to set out some standards for the program and what the outcomes are is going to be important so that people don't feel like they're failing at doing this work, because it could easily it kind of brush over their body in a way where it makes them feel like they're not showing up for young people in the way that they want to, but then also for the young people that they're not getting the support that they need. So being able to really lay out the expected outcomes is important. So I just had this conversation with LA County Office of Ed, talking about screening and how do we screen prospective mentors to determine whether they have the time, commitment, and personal qualities to be a safe and effective mentors, and screen prospective mentees and their parents or guardians about whether they have the time, commitment, and desire to be effectively mentored. I think what's important in that piece is understanding that this is going to be a two-way relationship, that the young people have to be as invested as the adults. And that may not start out the same or be at the same level, but you do want to see young people be excited or be encouraged or even be ready to try to talk through having a mentor. We know our narrative out there makes young people feel like if I have a mentor, that must mean something's wrong with me, or that I am in trouble, so I need to be fixed. And how can we make sure that we clarify to them that all of us have mentors? Still to this day, I have mentors in my life, but how do we screen them and really have those conversations? So is there an interview process that you have? Is there a way for you all to get on as program partners and talk with the adults that want to come into the space and help them understand what it means to be a mentor and what it doesn't mean to be a mentor? How can Mentor California come and help you in supporting that process so that we can talk through that with the folks that want to be in this space? I often tell people that, mentoring is not an opportunity for you to just come and have lunch and ask kids if they have paper and pencil. It's much deeper than that. So we want to make sure that we really have the conversation about time, commitment, and what are the qualities, who is the person that's coming into the space. Standard number 3, as we think through this, is what does training look like, right? Training prospective mentors, mentees, and their parents. I'm going to say that again, training prospective mentors, mentees, and their parents, right? Or guardians, responsible adult, whoever may be in their life, in the basic knowledge, attitudes, and skills needed to build an effective and safe mentoring relationship using culturally appropriate language and tools. Again, this is really important, and one of the main reasons Mentor California is here is so that we can help and support you all in this work. I'll go back to what I stated earlier. We are here through our TA to provide free training to you all to be able to support the work that you are doing. We have an amazing grant through OJJDP that allows us to do that. So I am encouraging you all, if you have not signed up underneath our mentoring connector, to go on to our website, get onto our mentoring connector and put your program into the space. Over the last 3 months, from January to the end of March, which we considered our first quarter, we had over 700 prospective people reach out to programs across California. And that's just the 253 programs that we have in the system right now. We know there are so many more, and we know that there are people who are looking for an opportunity to be able to be in a young person's life. They just need help. They just need program. They need people that can provide them with the opportunity to do that. Standard number 4, as we continue to move through this work, is matching and initiating. So what does it look like to match mentors and mentees and initiate the mentoring relationship? I think a part of that is what we were just talking about in the social identity wheel. I think a part of that is how do you use that, to Abigail's point, to be able to build a relationship and talk through how do we come together in this space as mentor and mentee. And then eventually watching as a reverse mentoring situation may happen where the mentee becomes the mentor and the mentor becomes the mentee, right? So we just want to think through that. We want to provide different opportunities, whether it be icebreakers, whether it be team building events that we could do, and really showing up for your programs to be able to guide you through that system so that you are matching our young people in the right way. Continue to monitor and support. So monitor mentoring relationship milestones and child safety. Support matches through providing ongoing advice, problem solving, training, and access to resources, for the duration of each relationship. So again, thinking about one, how can Mentor California support you all in that work? How can the folks at Sierra Health Foundation and also Elevate Youth, or the people that you have just on this call, how do you become a support for each other so that you can help as you move through monitoring and supporting the young people that are a part of your work, but also the adults so that they are doing what we need for the young people in this space. And then our last standard is closure. Facilitate bringing the match to closure in a way that affirms the contributions of the mentor and the mentee, and offers them the opportunity to prepare for the closure and assess the experience. That goes back to our national quality mentoring system that allows one, us to be able to help in assessing program, but two, assessing what the experience was like for young people. I think we don't often ask enough, how does this work for you? As an educator, as a principal for years, my teachers would fight with me often because I would come in and I would have conversations with the young people. They can tell me if my teacher is doing what they need them to do. They can tell me if their teacher is engaging. They can tell me how they may feel about that teacher or what the relationship looks like with that teacher. And that does not mean that that's the end all be all to the assessment of them as teachers. But young people can tell the story. As I often say, human testimony is assessment. Again, human testimony is assessment. So as we think through those 6 standards and what it looks like in the e-mentoring space, we're going to dive into a couple different things that I think are important for you all to be thinking about when it comes to e-mentoring. What are some programs that you could be looking at, and how could you best facilitate those programs in your space? I'm gonna stop sharing real quick before I jump into that and see if there's any questions about the 6 standards that I just talked through for our elements of effective practices. Are there any questions, any thoughts, share outs? Please jump off mute and you can do that now. All right, I think we're good. Very cool. So let's continue through this. So what are some different types of e-mentoring programs? Things that work, things that we have seen be used. And you'll see there the logo for Mentor Hub, and I'm going to talk through that shortly in just a few moments. But let's just talk about what we've seen work so far for programs in this e-mentoring space. First and foremost, probably the easiest of them all is, how do we use email? Young people with their emails, most of them through their schools will have email. I can say, as a former school district employee, I know oftentimes our young people don't use the emails that are given to them. So hopefully you can possibly build a relationship with that young person where they will share an email with you that they do often use. But how do you use email? Very simply, to be able to connect, to be able to ask questions, to be able to share articles or things that you would like for the young person to read, but then also offering to the young person your email as adults so that they can reach out to you when they need you, so that they can have conversation. They can also share things that they're excited about. And it's a very, very easy platform for young people to work through. Another one that we see often is forums and bulletin boards. And what I mean by that is not bulletin boards in the sense of what we're used to seeing at a school, but bulletin boards in the sense of electronic bulletin boards like the app GroupMe. If you are not familiar with GroupMe, I would encourage you to check it out. It's a very easy bulletin board where you can share, again, different articles that you may want the young people to read. I have used GroupMe to actually watch Netflix movies with our young people. And it's an opportunity for us to maybe check out a documentary and then ask questions throughout the documentary about what's happening in that space. Some of the young people really enjoyed that when we spent time thinking through hip hop. Being a part of Hip Hop Ed with Dr. Christopher Emden, who I'm sure many of you may know. We used the documentaries on Netflix and used GroupMe to be able to ask questions and create this really lively discussion that didn't have to be on Twitter, was just a space that was meant for us and wasn't something that was pushed out for everyone to have to see. So GroupMe is one that I lift up entirely. Video conference, of course, things like FaceTime. Of course, Google has a few different conferencing methods that you could use on the phone. And we definitely encourage that. Of course, there's what we're doing right now with Zoom. But one of the things that we encourage folks to do when it comes to video conferencing is, as adults, you know, it's always good to possibly have one other adult with you in those spaces, just for safety, so that there's an opportunity for you all to work together with a young person, And sometimes maybe inviting more than just that one young person and creating a group mentoring opportunity. This just allows for the space to be a little bit more lively, allows for them to learn from each other, but also allows the adults to learn from each other as well. So thinking about video conferencing is a great method. We also have our live chat and text messaging, which is pretty self-explanatory. And then the proprietary multi-feature platform, which is part of what I'm going to talk about with Mentor Hub. So Mentor Hub, Dr. Jean Rhodes out of Boston, Massachusetts. Many of you all may know her work. She has done a lot of research in mentoring, has shared a lot of information with Mentor, and has been a part of consulting through tons of different bodies of work, the elements of effective practices being one. But Mentor Hub is a new app that she has created. And a good friend of mine, Bud Avery, is the president and CEO of Mentor Hub. He also has been a TA provider for Mentor North Carolina for years, and really has a great opportunity for you all, for us, to be able to think about how can we use this platform to be able to connect with our young people and really be able to dive a little bit deeper. We talked earlier about mental health. We talked earlier about really understanding identity, and Mentor Hub will do that. So I want to show you all a video. It's about 3 minutes long that will just explain Mentor Hub in a very short version, but we do intend to have them at our quarterly convening in June to come and spend some more time with us to get a little bit deeper into this work. But they will also be doing a webinar in partnership with Mentor California for programs across the state. But let's just check out this video for now and tell me what you all think.
Welcome to Mentor Hub, a supportive accountability app. Mentor Hub was created based on the idea that we can widely deliver targeted, evidence-based interventions that work through technology, and that they're most effective with a little support. We're aiming to achieve this by partnering with best-in-class third-party apps that provide interventions in mental health, education, and more. Using the existing framework of a supportive mentoring relationship, Mentor Hub can help facilitate positive change for young people everywhere. We're going to start by taking you through the mentee experience. Start by logging in with your phone number. We'll send you a one-time password to log in, so you'll never have to remember one. Once you're logged in, you'll be prompted to take your baseline assessment, customized by your organization. Organizations can decide how frequently this assessment occurs, ranging from weekly all the way up to every 6 months. Next, you'll take the mood ring. The mood ring was designed to capture a weekly snapshot of how you're feeling about several challenges in your life. You can slide from left to right in each category to indicate how much that challenge is bothering you this week. You can earn points in Mentor Hub by completing your mood ring and using partner apps. After completing the mood ring, our built-in algorithm will suggest an app to you based on your responses. For example, Super Better can help you build resilience and stay positive through difficult situations. Your dashboard gives you a quick overview of your relationship with your mentor. See the breakdown of your mood ring and points here. You can choose to sort these visualizations by monthly, weekly, or latest. The mood ring tab provides an in-depth view of each category we ask about over time, so you and your mentor can view how these change. Messaging is built into Mentor Hub. You can catch up, talk about any goals or challenges you have, and more. If you ever feel uncomfortable in a conversation, we've built in the option to flag it, pausing your chat. You can always unflag it after if this was a mistake. Finally, the More tab features information about the app, resources, and your mentee profile. Here you can see badges you've earned and badges still to earn. The Mentor app is a lot like the Mentee app. It's designed to give you insight and transparency into your mentee's activity, giving you the tools to provide supportive accountability. Log in the same way you would for the Mentee app, and you'll see your dashboard right away. View message engagement statistics and an overview of your mentee or mentees. You'll be able to quickly see their last activity date from here. If you have multiple mentees, the Mentee tab will give you an overview of all their top challenges. You can also receive your one-time password via email. Click on a mentee to see their profile. You can see their mood ring responses, app usage, and badge progress in this tab. Use MentorHub's chat to communicate with mentees and program staff. You can also use the chat to remind your mentee to track their mood ring progress. If they haven't completed it in more than 7 days, MentorHub will prompt you to send them a quick nudge so they stay on track. Thank you so much for your interest in MentorHub, and we hope that we can work with you soon. Well,
Let me take myself off mute. I apologize. So I'm gonna stop sharing for a moment because I'd love to hear what are your thoughts on MentorHub, and or do you use anything like MentorHub already? Would love to hear people's thoughts. Just jump off of mute. Anyone?
Well, I think it's, this is Stephanie again. I think it's so interesting to see how far technology has come, that everything is just as simple as using an app. We have never used an app like MentorHub before. So we usually stick to GroupMe, like group texts, emails, like just the generic forms that you mentioned earlier, but nothing as sophisticated as the app that you shared.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear you using GroupMe. I love GroupMe. Cynthia, I see you're off mute. Did you want to say something, or were you just off mute by accident? Anybody else? Anybody else? Thoughts about the MentorHub app? What stuck out to you? Anything? Well, I did put in the chat. You will see the website, mentorhubapp.org. It's very simple, mentorhubapp.org. I did speak with Bud and with Dr. Jean Rhodes, and I wanted to let you all know that if you go onto MentorHub app and sign up today, you are able to do that for free, and you can also use the app for up to 10 matches. I'm going to say that and put my hands up so you see. Up to 10 matches for free. There is a cost to the MentorHub. I will tell you that. What they have been looking at is $10 a year per match if folks want to continue to use it. But for now, they are giving you all 10 free matches to be able to use MentorHub. Check it out. See if it's something that you think is of interest. And if you think it will work for your community, great. It is not something, of course, that you have to stick with if it doesn't work. But I want to encourage you all to check out MentorHub, see what you think about it, see if the app makes sense, and see if there is a way for you all to incorporate that into your work. So as we continue to think through all of the different methods, and Stephanie shared some with GroupMe and text messaging as bodies of work that they are currently using right now, I wanted to ask a few questions and have a little bit of discussion. Right, so thinking about which ones are you already using, from emailing to text messaging, video conferencing, and how is it working? We'd love to hear from you all. B, which one can you easily implement now if you're not using it? Or would love to hear which one you find most challenging to execute, and kind of talk to us about why is it challenging? What are you seeing as a barrier to being able to do that? And maybe some folks on here can help us answer some questions or give some ideas. So I would love to hear from a few of you all. Which ones are you already using? How's it working? What do you think you can implement now? Or what are the barriers to implementing some of them? Anybody who wants to share, please jump out. Hi, Raquel,
Well,
I see you came off mute.
Can you hear me? My internet's a little stable. I might just switch to my phone.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Unified School District.
You're cutting in and out.
Okay, let me hop on my phone, and I've been my internet has been unstable all morning.
Okay. Okay. We'll come back to you. I seen Latino Health Network. I seen you jumped out. Please share.
Hi, it's Brenda again. So which one are you already doing? How's it working? So we've been doing email. It's working pretty well. However, sometimes youth do not look at their emails as often as we do, obviously. They actually kind of schooled me on just using a group me like Stephanie mentioned. And then they mentioned also another one called Discord. However, I think it's like a TikTok kind of platform, I believe. I have to look more into it, called Discord. So I'm not sure about that one, to be honest. But for right now, what's easily implement right now is text messaging. So that's easy for us. I use my work phone number though, however, I don't use my personal. So I make that, differentiation, like make sure I have my work one, then my personal one. So. And then again, challenging will probably be email sometimes because there are students that do use do check their emails often, but there's some that do not. So I just have to keep reminding, keep emailing, just to make sure they join into our weekly meeting. So yeah, that's my feedback.
Love that. Thank you, Brenda. Appreciate that. Sharing the information about your number is amazing. One of the things we often encourage folks to do is to get a Google number. That makes it a lot easier so that you don't feel like you're sharing out your personal numbers. So if you look up to get a Google number, it's free, something that you can use easily. It's an opportunity for you to be able to share that with folks. I see Maribel is sharing, I've used Discord for some meetings. It's a free app and everyone can post different links and messages, which is great. Stephanie's also sharing again about Group Me. Maribel, would you mind jumping out and sharing a little bit more about Discord, just to give us a little bit more background about what that might look like for folks?
Yes. I believe the younger generation really loves it. I found it quite difficult for me because it just seemed a little overwhelming with Zoom links and messages. So they're all like intertwined in there. But I think from what some of the conversations that I had was that some people, and especially the younger generation, really looks forward to seeing the links. And that way they can just like, I'm free right now. Let me see what's going on. So it's kind of like I looked at it like a drop-in center. So like a drop-in site where, the kids and anybody could just kind of drop in and see like, hey, what's going on today? Oh, that sounds interesting. Oh, I like that conversation. Oh, let me join in on this. Or wow, this is going to be happening later this week. So more like, when we had buildings that we could just kind of drop in and see what was going on, something like that. So I would suggest everyone just kind of look at it. I did have to get an invitation, so I don't know if it's someone creates a room and then invites you, but I know someone did invite me to that. There's also other chat rooms that like there's Clubhouse that's recently come up, but that's more of a conversation. And you do have to have like an iPhone, an iPad, or an iMac. And you have to be invited based on your phone number. So I don't know exactly if that's the only way to get in for the first app, but I know for like Clubhouse that is, and people can listen, people can join into the conversation. You don't really have to show your face because you can't show your face on that one. But if you can click on a Zoom link, then you can log into one. So, I would suggest everyone just kind of check them out and just be familiar with them and get to know like the different apps that are out there, because someone did mention earlier, like the technology has gone so far, and whether we like it or not, we keep moving in that direction. And eventually, everyone that we work with will speak that language. So we need to understand a little bit, even if we don't know it fluent. Like I'll have people say, can you teach me that? Like, can you teach me a little bit about this? Or like for me, I found Discord to be a little overwhelming, but I also found it helpful when I needed something like, hey, I wonder if they're doing that today. Let me check. And then I was able to kind of get in and get some information that I needed. So that was helpful also.
Love that, Maribel. Thank you for sharing. Raquel, I know you raised your hand and I'll come to you in just a moment. I'm not sure who this might be from Improve Your Tomorrow. IYT does amazing work here in Sacramento. I don't know if it's Michael or Renato, who it may be, but do you have anything else that you want to share about Discord or anything else? I'll give you an opportunity to jump out.
Hey, what's going on, Marcus? It's Renato. Yeah, no, I just wanted to agree with Maribel. Discord, it, I originally thought it was only about gaming because that's what I kept hearing about from the guys of like they watch it for streaming and video games and stuff like that. But it's so much more than that, which leads to the overwhelming part. But the kids really do love it because similar to what you've done in the past, what you mentioned was like they can watch movies, they can post links, they can drop anything in there really, and you can see you can do like sidebar chats with people, and yeah, it's pretty complex, but the kids love it. You know, if it's not complex, it's not for them, right? So but
Right.
that's why they enjoy it. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on Discord.
No, love that, Renato. Thank you for sharing that. And Maribel, you made me think about almost like office hours that maybe a professor would have, like, hey, I'm here during this time. This is what I'm doing. Jump all in. So that's extremely helpful. It makes me think about, I'm lifting this up to our Elevate Youth folks that may be coming out with a one pager of all the different opportunities that are out there for e-mentoring. Might be something we could do jointly. Raquel, please jump out. I know you're back on with us on the phone. So talk to us. Maybe? If you're talking to us, we can't hear you just yet. So I'm gonna see if there's anybody else that wants to share about the 3 questions we have up there.
Okay, I think I got it now. Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can hear you, Raquel. Awesome.
Okay. So my name is Raquel. I'm from the Rose Family Creative Empowerment Center based out here in Sacramento. We also work with Sac City Unified and District. I also have a background in working Luther Burbank and Parkway Elementary School. So I would definitely like to say that probably the best, what I have learned in my years in working education and working with youth, the easiest connection for me was initially obviously being in person, but the transition period of being hybrid and a distance learning aspect would be text messages, phone number, like phone calls or anything in that sense. But I think right now with the transitional period of returning into hybrid learning, it has definitely helped us because we have been one of the programs of many few programs have been able to access the learning hub, and we are able to work with the kids in that setting. However, I think one of the biggest challenges, especially with our high school kids, have been accountability, in the sense where we are able to reach out to them, whether it's phone calls, Zoom, or anything. But when we set a scheduled date, we are noticing that our numbers have been indifferent in the sense where like someone will connect to you through text message and phone call, but do not want to access through Zoom. So that's something that I was kind of curious about with the Mentor Hub. I think maybe it would be an easier way to find that connection and see where are we lacking and what communication efforts that we can make to increase that engagement from the high school aspect. Just because it is different being in a virtual setting compared to in person. I was at Burbank for about 8 years, and the connection of mentoring in person is completely different because you check in with the kids on a regular basis. And then being in a virtual standpoint has increased challenges because a lot of the kids kind of check out. I'm not in school in person. Why do I have to be in there mentally?
That's right. That's right. I think that's all great information, Raquel. And I love that you took it to the high school space and what that may look like, because it is different with our high schoolers, you know, and that's one of the things that we are trying to continue to lift up. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing a training on peer mentoring and really just talking about the importance of, I don't know if it might have been Brenda. I'm not sure who shared it, but, you know, as we were talking earlier, a lot of times our high schoolers, they just don't want to hear from us, whether they think we're old folks, or we just may not be able to support them in the way that they want to be supported. So having peers who are mentors to them as well, and using them to be able to support that work is absolutely amazing. So thank you, Raquel, for lifting that up. And Brenda, I seen you raise your hand again. Please jump out.
Hi, yes, definitely. Raquel, I definitely relate completely because a lot of my youth are in high school, like, you know, from sophomore to seniors. So I completely understand how you feel about that. Maybe a suggestion that I can give is sometimes like after our virtual meetings, like I do let them know like, okay, then if anybody wants to maybe stay after for a couple minutes just to like, you know, talk, or you can email me, like it's up to you. So I do stay like maybe, 10 minutes after our virtual meeting, just to have that one-on-one, session with them, just like how they're feeling. Or, I private message them and be like, hey, can you stay after if something I heard like during our conversation was like maybe like a yellow flag or so. So maybe that might help with your high school, youth, and trying to like, put yourself out there with them and have that one-on-one session even after like meeting together.
Thank you for sharing that, Brenda. That's amazing. And I will also lift up, Stephanie stated, just making Zoom or any of those platforms as comfortable as possible, not requiring their mic or webcam to be on, and just, letting the chat feature be the way that young people connect in that space. I think it's absolutely amazing. I also want to lift up, Renato spoke to gaming, right? And that has been a great way for me to be able to connect with a lot of young people, is to jump on NBA 2K and just spend time in that space with them, allowing them to be who they are, while also dumping in a couple questions on how's school going, right? How you feeling? Is everything good with you? Is the space good? How's things at home? So on and so forth. So using gaming as an opportunity to be able to build is absolutely amazing. It's also good not to log off until everyone has left the Zoom room. I think that is all absolutely powerful. So thank you for that. Stephanie, did I see you raise your hand?
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I think.
Oh, you jumped on mute again.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you for folks who contributed to the conversation. This is such an interesting convo. Also do want to share, I know because things are virtual, we can't expect the amount of output from our youth in comparison to when we were doing it in person. And so we dedicate at least, 45 minutes to an hour within our youth leadership groups to just hold space, to build community through different like virtual activities. And then for the last hour, that's when we'll start working on some of our action items. But, we just want to meet the youth where they're at, because I know these are very stressful times, especially with, Zooming all day and just being cognizant of that. So we do want to make it as comfortable as possible and also not add on, I guess, stressors to the youth through a virtual format.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I will leave this open real quick to see if there's any other person that wants to jump out. I know somebody has a hidden secret that they're not telling us about. Does anybody want to share one last piece before I move on? All right. Well, I'm going to keep things going as we think through this. We're going to have a little bit more of a moment to have a little bit more discussion in just a few minutes before we get too close to the end. We've got about 15 minutes. So let's talk about structure in these spaces. And Stephanie was just talking about some of the things that you could think of. And Renato and Brenda, everyone, Maribel, thank you contributing to this conversation. I know folks are taking notes. And as Karen mentioned, hopefully our folks with Sierra Health seeing that in the chat and Elevate Youth, that a one-pager would be great. So that is something that we can think through and try to create. And we'll ask for your support in so that we can make sure we're getting everything on that one-pager to be able to push that out. But thinking about structure, define roles and opportunities for the mentor and mentee. What are the goals for all involved? I think to Stephanie's point just a moment ago, is these first 45 minutes, the goal is just to be in space. What do you want to talk about? Why are you here? One of the things that was interesting for me as a teacher, and my principal fought me on it at first, but he really adapted to the idea and it became really a natural body of work for me over the last 6 years of me teaching in the classroom, was every Wednesday was a non-curricular day. I didn't open up an English book. We didn't open up a novel. We didn't read. And of course I was in, 53-minute classes, but we came in on Wednesday and it was about us as a family in this classroom. Let's just talk. What's going on? What's happening in your space outside of school? What's happening in the world? How do you want to discuss and think through that? And I took that into being a principal. And the first 2 weeks of school at my high school for 9 years, we never opened up a book. We just built relationships. I didn't want my teachers doing the basic, here's a form, Fill it out. Tell me your birthday. What are your likes and dislikes? This is not a dating app. We were trying to figure out who you were as young people. And we would do team building activities in the gym. We would have DJs in our cafeteria. We would do outside events for the first 2 weeks of school, just so our staff and our students can build relationship. And that really helped to improve our culture. And what I will tell you based upon that is when I started my first year, my 88 teachers for 1,200 students had written 27,000 discipline referrals. By the time I left 9 years later to come here to California from Illinois, our 88 teachers had written just under 3,000 discipline referrals. So still a lot of work to do, still too many discipline referrals, but we went from 28 to under 3 in 9 years. And a lot of that was based on us just thinking about building community and space. Clear communication on family involvement, reliable access to required technology, right? So how do we help young people have what they need, but then how do we also help mentors? I think often we forget and think that just because they're adults, that they have the proper access to be able to jump into these spaces and do what is necessary. And a lot of them don't, right? My father, who may want to be a mentor in his 60 plus years of life, for a very long time still had a flip phone. He was not going to be able to FaceTime, and it was going to be incredibly hard for him to do text messaging. So how do we figure that out if we have an older adult that may want to come into the space that just doesn't have the required technology? Provide realistic portrayal of the e-mentoring experience. And I think some of you already spoke to that. You're going to send emails and they're not going to respond. It doesn't mean that they don't want to. They probably just aren't paying attention. It's just not at the top of their brain. They got tons of other things that are happening. So help folks understand the realistic portrayal of this experience. Discuss with the mentor and mentee and the family. We're going to keep saying that, and the family, the program expectations regarding contact, right? So phone, we're going to be using Zoom, so on and so forth, and what that's going to look like. Proper times for adults and young people to be contacting each other. And then, of course, consistency, quality, and confidentiality. So more to that is effective e-mentoring requires high quality interactions and conversations, reviewing communication between the mentor and mentee. So one of the things that we're doing tomorrow with Microsoft, as I stated, is this networking event. But before we did that, we had an hour-long training session with those 35 employees to talk about what does quality interaction and conversations look like? How do you share your experience? How do you come into a space vulnerable? And how do we set you up with the proper questions or the proper conversation starters so that you can come into the space ready to be in the space? So how do you do that for the folks coming into your program? An e-mentoring program should still feel like an in-person program and feel like a safe space to have open and honest conversation. Be creative, icebreakers, conversation starters, fun facts, check-ins, emojis, text language. And we're going to get to some important pieces with that in our discussion in a moment. Be aware of text and the possibility of misinterpretation or miscommunication. I think that is very important. I know as an adult, I often will see a text from someone and be completely confused on what it is that they are trying to ask or tell me. And sometimes it could lead to frustration or excitement, and it may not be either or. So just being able to help folks understand that. Of course, having a great check-in structure, have a consistent schedule and time boundaries in place so that the mentee and mentor understand that there needs to be a line that is drawn. Although there may be times that young people just need you and they may reach out, there's relationships that are built that way, but just making sure that everybody is understanding what is happening during that time and allow for flexibility when time is considered. And I talked about this before, having young people understand that you are here and available, but also understanding that every time they reach out to you doesn't mean that you'll be available at that time, and vice versa. One of the things we recommend is a minimum contact of at least twice a month. And I know folks are doing way more than twice a month, but that is a minimum recommendation that we have. Program leadership should be checking in with the mentor and mentee at least once a month. Again, minimum recommendation that someone, like Brenda from Latino Health Access is checking in with a match and making sure that that relationship is moving the way that we want it to move. And then best practices for managing security and confidentiality. Youth safety is first and priority. Use of permission slips, consent forms is something that we recommend. Have all attendees wear earbuds so the group audio is not audible and reverberating out into an open room. And when you're in spaces like Zoom, we cannot control mentee environments. So we ask all participants, to make sure that they keep their earbuds in. Ask all attendees to be in a private room if possible and able. Again, if possible, we understand that young people may not always have that as an option, but we do ask that. Ask that all attendees have their video turned on so that everyone can see each other. But we also understand, to Stephanie's point, that just may not always work for young people. One of the things that we have also recognized, though, for our adults is that it's often hard for the adults to continue to be in the space working with squares, and being able to see a face sometimes really does allow for our interaction to be a little bit different. But I do completely lift up Stephanie's point that that's not always something that is going to happen, and it is not something that should be required. Let attendees know that the record function has been disabled or enabled. So if you're recording something and there's young people there, please make sure that they know that before you do that and that they give you the permission to do that. And it is also something as a program you should talk with your mentors about. Why are you recording this? What is the need for that? And sometimes programs are having those sessions recorded. So it is something that they can go back to in case something does occur in terms of safety. And then in group mentoring, it may be best to disable chat for participant to participant. And this goes to some of the conversation earlier. One of the things that we have noticed is that sometimes when you allow young people to talk to young people back and forth, there can be bullying that may occur. So something for us to think about is, do we want to allow participants to chat in direct message with each other as opposed to just an open chat for everybody to see? So these are some recommendations that we have, just best practices, nothing that says this is what it should be and has to be, but definitely things that we encourage. Some e-mentoring resources that work, Cyber Mentor program. This is part of some of that one-pager pieces that we can put together for you, Karen. iMentor, Mentor Hub, Cricket Together, Try Engineering, Strive for College, and I Could Be. And then there's some other great programs that are doing some great work out there in the e-mentoring space that we just wanted to lift up. Kingmakers of Oakland with Chris Chapman, Youth Mentoring Action Network with Dr. Tori Wieston, who wrote the book Critical Mentoring. The Youth Leadership Institute out of Fresno, doing absolutely amazing work in the community. And then, of course, LA Team Mentoring down in LA are doing some amazing work as well. And here we wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about knowing the challenges and the impact. So again, mentees may lack the required technology, which is something that we spoke about earlier. Mentees are essential workers. My daughter is one who she was considered an essential worker very early on and has been working through the pandemic all along. So understand that on top of school, they may also have to go to work, which can create just a really big challenge in terms of being able to get in contact with each other. Mentees lack phone data needed to use virtual platforms. I have twin boys who are 16 who tell me all the time that they are out of data. And that is just a part of reality for a lot of our young people. Some of them have a lack of family support. Some of them are just hard to reach youth, and we get that. We spoke about that with email, and some young people just not responding. Sleep schedules are off. So this is something that I think we really need to pay attention to, is that with COVID and with school being so different over this last year, young people don't have the same schedule as they've always had. So they may miss certain sessions that you have scheduled because they're not going to bed till late, or they're up doing different type of programming or homework, trying to do something within the space to keep themselves motivated and excited and they don't want to get into a depressed state. So sometimes they're up late, and I know that with my own 3 kids. And then lack of motivation. Another body of work that we want to lift up as we move through knowing our challenges and our impact that comes with e-mentoring is demographics, rural versus urban. So thinking about those areas that just don't have great Wi-Fi access or internet access versus young people who may be in a space that do. Some personal factors. So this is for, and I'll just talk about myself, us old folks who may not be technology literate. One of the things that I consistently lift up, and this was spoken about earlier, even with interpersonal communication styles. How often have any of you all, and would love to hear from you in a few short moments right now, just for a few short moments, how many of you all have ever done a training with your adult mentors on text messaging and understanding emojis and how young people may use different lingo on texting? I would love to hear, is there anybody that has done a training with your adults on text messaging to understand communication style? Raquel, please jump out.
Hi, so when I was at Parkville Elementary as a parent advisor, we actually had police department come out and do a training with my parent group. And it's unbelievable on how much parents are unaware of the things that our kids are communicating from, whether it's the social media, the text messages, and learning all the emojis. And a lot of parents were completely excited to learn, but at the same time shocked on the things that the kids are communicating through text messages and like with the hidden messages. But I think it's something that it needs to be an awareness for parents to understand what's happening with their kids and what are they going through, what are they seeing, what is going on within their daily conversations with their peers, and we actually, like, even with the whole virtual aspect, and is understanding that cyberbullying is real. And so we were able to touch all those topics in those type of trainings, and I think it has been an amazing opportunity to be sure to educate those who are unaware of those abilities.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Raquel. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's really important. You know, I know Raquel spoke, I believe it was the police department. She said, I'm sure there are other folks that you could reach out to really be able to help you to do some trainings on just understanding emojis, understanding text messaging, how young people talk, what will make sense to them, and what may not make sense to them. And really being able to get our mentors to a place where they feel like they're literate in work and don't feel disconnected. So just thinking about communication styles, but also that for some young people, texting is absolutely amazing for them because they may be incredibly shy, may not want to be in front of folks. And to Stephanie's point earlier, we don't need to see you. We don't need your video on or your mic on. Just use the chat as your way of communicating. I'll share a very quick story about one of the young people that I've worked with for years. When she was in high school, she's now a college graduate and going on about her life. But her and her father had a really bad relationship. And one of the things that I told her to do was, of course, have a conversation with her father. And she was not able to do that. She was afraid of her father. She didn't know how he would respond. And she asked her dad, I said, I need you to go and ask your dad, can you and him have a conversation through text where you're able to share what you need to share and he can share what he needs to share, and not for them to communicate in person. And that actually helped their relationship and helped them to get closer in what they were doing, going through in terms of their father-daughter relationship. So sometimes it just works better for young people. And it's not that they're being disconnected, it's just what is comfortable for them. Of course, we continue to talk about accessibility, but the impact is relationship building. There's frequency of interactions. Sometimes, again, you may have more interaction with young people through texting, but then there's mentoring in the open, right? Group mentoring. How do you use that as a way to be able to bring young people into the space? So I think what's interesting for us right now is that our young people don't only have to be mentored by people in California right now. How do we bring folks from New York or Texas or Florida or folks that we know in other cities that have something to bring? Abbott Technologies, as I spoke to earlier, is getting ready to do this work with us. And they have 109,000 employees across this globe. And they are looking to bring as many of them to get involved with our young people here in California. And how exciting is that for them to be able to meet folks in different spaces, to be able to build with them in different ways, and not have to only learn from people here in California through this virtual platform. So how do we create those opportunities and build on those opportunities is what's going to be great. So I'm going to get ready to finish up. And we talked a little bit about those challenges. As we state, always thinking about COVID, just to continue to be mindful, as we know that things are slowing down, but there's still trauma that is triggered for young people who have been impacted by this virus or by the news surrounding the pandemic. Just today, they spoke to the fact that over 5 million people who got the first vaccine shot have refused to get the second shot because of fear or other things that may be out there. So we know that that will continue to come up for young folks. Be intentional in your work, acknowledge, understand, and commit, right? So acknowledge what is going on, understand and honor your own emotions, and commit to self-care. My meditation yesterday ended with a really great statement, is that it takes effort and relaxation to do this work. Again, it takes effort and relaxation to do this work. So I want to lift that up also. Be in it together, right? So follow the guidelines of your mentoring program, communicate virtually with your mentor, and or if in-person connections are suspended, and decide on those clear boundaries, which we spoke to. And then just continue to be communicative, you know, in whatever way is possible for you all to do that work. So again, continue to be a blessing to the young people that are in front of you. This is our feedback form. Please feel free to use your phone and take a shot of that QR code and let us know what we can do to make these even more exciting for you and to offer more opportunity and more resources as we continue to build this out. I appreciate you all being as engaged as you were today. It was amazing conversation. I love all of what I'm seeing in the chat, you know, talking about access and patience, grace, and flexibility. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it so much. And I just ask that you all continue to show up and show out in every way possible. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Palvinder or Andrew. I'm not sure who's jumping out for the team, but it is all yours. Palvinder or, oh, there's Andrew.
Thanks, Marcus, for that very insightful session, and thank you everyone else for participating as well. This dialogue couldn't have been as in depth as it was without all of our partners as well and engaging with the topic. So, big shout out to all of you. And so, yeah, this kind of wraps up our April webinar series. Thank you everyone for attending. This session is recorded, and we'll upload this to our website, and also we'll also share out all the resources and the slides that Marcus has utilized throughout the 2 sessions as well. Moving forward, this isn't the end of the trainings, and so be on the lookout. In the next week, we'll send out an email to kind of outline how all of you can set up additional trainings like one-on-one with either Mentor California or the National Compadres Network as well. And so just be on the lookout for that. And with that, thank you, Marcus. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And yeah, we look forward to all the great work that you'll all be doing and engaging with the youth. All right, bye, everyone.